Saeed from Defend Our Juries is on the call.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. I was a bit confused because there was this thing of 2 p.m. It stops at 2 p.m., but people stayed after in solidarity with those who had been arrested.
Right.
And then obviously we heard later on that a record number of arrests were made in a day, 466. But my impression on that was that those people were wanting to be arrested. There were people going like this, here, come here, to the police. Can you tell us what happened after 2 p.m. and what's your take on how it all played out after that?
Yeah, I think honestly, I mean, this was one of the most impressive protests I've ever seen, in 30 years of activism. The level of commitment, the level of passion, the level of dedication, the resilience of so many people, and like you said, the willingness to be arrested because they understood the point that it proves. And in fact, whoever took part in that protest yesterday, there was no way you couldn't make your point. If you were arrested, it proved that the state was willing to arrest anyone for holding a sign, which is obviously ridiculous. And if you weren't arrested, it proved that this law is unenforceable. So at 2 o'clock, because in the past, those protests were planned from 1 to 2, but in the past, there were 20, 40 people. So the police were able to arrest them within an hour. Yesterday, it was impossible to arrest everyone within an hour. Some people did leave. And some people, I'm sure you saw them as well, were surprised that they hadn't been arrested, were confused because they couldn't understand what the police had planned exactly. And that just proves the point that the whole operation from the Met Police's side and, the police that were brought in from other jurisdictions was a complete mess. I don't know about you, but I saw chaos in terms of the policing strategy yesterday. Absolute chaos.
Yeah, I mean they couldn't they had nowhere enough people to carry off 500. The van they didn't have enough vehicles. I think there was some sort of I think someone called it triage at near but by the Foreign Office. It sounded like a medical thing. Where
Yeah.
you go and they process you, give you your arrest. I don't know what the papers were or whatever, but it wasn't what you'd expect. And what do you think about how the government has responded? I mean, I've seen Yvette Cooper's made a statement and the police themselves have made a statement. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, the minute I stepped foot in Parliament Square yesterday, I knew this was going to look awful for the government. And I was very happy to see that that's exactly what happened. The press has, even in their attempt, the press that has often been on the government side or the state side, I want to clarify. I mean, many people here are criticizing the government. This is not an issue with the government or the Labour Party. This is an issue with the British state. So the press has very often been dedicated to defending the British state. But even they could not escape, the horrors of what they saw yesterday. Hundreds of ordinary people willing to sacrifice their freedom, possibly for a night, possibly for longer, in order to stand up to genocide. And that looks awful in the news. And I read it when I came home, and I've been reading it this morning. And I think the government realizes how bad it looks, both morally, but also practically. Again, that the state, the High Court judge, when he ruled that the judicial review could go ahead, specifically said, I'm very concerned with how this law is being policed, the practicalities of it, and the police's understanding of the law, or as he highlighted, it seems to me, he had a great quote, something like, it seems to me the police don't understand the law. Well, that's the understatement of the century. The police have absolutely no clue what law they're enforcing or why. I'm never gonna back the police, but I actually did feel sorry for many of them yesterday, despite my better judgment, because I could tell that they were humiliated, and this is not. They could see the morality of it clearly. They could see the morality of it. I saw a lot of very confused and also very emotional cops there yesterday.
The social media has got pictures and video all over of just really disturbing arrests of people who should not be put into custody. I mean, how on earth they can continue this prescription? I need to ask you. Obviously, everyone's wondering what next. Has Defend Our Juries got another plan? I mean, that's a lot to have planned. But everyone's up for what is it? The second one, the sequel's often better than the first. I'm not sure. What's the next plan?
I think sequels are rarely better than the first, except
Oh, okay, maybe maybe the third one then. Maybe I have to wait till the third one.
maybe. Well, yeah, it's a huge amount of work, as you can imagine. The logistics of it, the legality of it. My hope, because these things have been happening every week on a much smaller scale, my hope is that they'll actually become autonomous from this point. That people know if you show up at Parliament Square at 1 p.m. on a Saturday, you can participate. It doesn't need to be organized. But Defend Our Juries does have another mass event scheduled for September. The details aren't out yet, but they're developing it now.
Right, a similar one.
Similar one. And it may even be more people, and it may even be more difficult to police.
And just remind us, when is the judicial review, and what happens in the judicial review? I mean, how long does that judicial review take to run its course, and how long would it take for a decision to be made on deprescription?
So, all right, the judicial review is scheduled for November. The process will be it's important to understand the judicial review is a review of the process of legislation. It's not a review about the decision. It's not a review about the morality of the law. It is whether the government took the proper procedures to implement this law. The fact that the judge found two reasons in particular why the process there were questions to be answered about the process. So he highlighted two things in particular. One is that the law seems to, or has the possibility to inhibit our rights under Articles 10 and 11 of the European Convention. That is the right to freedom of speech and the right to assembly. It was pretty clear from yesterday that the law, to me at least, that the law is inhibiting those rights. The second is the procedure for prescription should include speaking to the group itself, and Palestine Action had always been very easy to contact. The government did not speak to Palestine Action. The government did not speak to any human rights organizations about what the fallout from that legislation could be. In fact, the government did not consult with any pro-Palestinian groups, but of course they consulted with several pro-Israeli groups, including Elbit Systems themselves and the Israeli government. So in that sense, he found the process may have been flawed. The review itself is going to look through how the law was implemented and what evidence is there that it is not being implemented properly and cannot be implemented properly. So what we saw yesterday, I think, will be extremely compelling evidence for the judge. It should take a few days. I mean, it's a fairly intricate process, but it's not a trial. If the decision is made, the decision would say that the implementation of the law itself was unlawful, meaning it would take effect immediately. The law would just simply cease to exist, and meaning that every single police action taken to enforce that law is unlawful in and of itself.
Wow.
So you're looking at, by that time, could be 2,000 lawsuits against the police for unlawful arrests.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see how.
Of...
And if they uphold the law, then which is just, I don't even want to countenance that possibility. But we'll have to see what happens. But I appreciate you coming on and giving us this information, because I don't think we get it elsewhere.
Yeah,
and we'll have to catch up. And if there's any news about this September thing,
November.
No, but the September Defend
Oh,
Our
sorry.
Juries.
Yes,
Yeah.
that will it will be advertised on the same networks that Defend Our Juries has used. But yes,
I think if you put the sequel on the thing, on the flyer, it will be a smash, honestly.